Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to be starting down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, top of the red Protoss player. Give it up for the one, the only, the notorious Rotterdam. And his opponent spawned down here, or up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, Ascension to Ire. We have the blue Zerg player. His name is Unleashed. Okay, I'm not sure what these guys are talking about. Talking about how Rotterdam is sniping someone. I was lucky last time. Looks like they may have been playing each other a few times in a row or something. But gonna be a Protoss versus Zerg. And unlike the last game that we saw, nothing crazy is happening just yet. Rotterdam gets up the Nexus first. Okay, that's a little bit more interesting. I didn't notice I didn't have a gateway down, but Ascension to Ire, for those who do not know, one of the newer maps that ended up coming out. It looks like Rotterdam forgot when they played. But it is a pretty interesting map. The main base is not actually all that ginormous, and even the natural expansion does have a little bit more area, but not huge either. So got to be a little bit more selective about that kind of building placement and everything as the game does go on. But across the map, it's not actually the longest rush distance in the world. There have definitely been maps with shorter rush distances, for sure. I mean, it's hard to beat the rush distances that we've had in maps like Dawson Station and stuff, but it really does allow for some more aggressive plays to immediately move across the map and just pop into that natural expansion. Now, the fun kind of thing is, if you can control this ramp over here, it does make it a lot easier to try and secure that third expansion. This ramp over here, there is an opportunity to move down and around, or I should say up and around, to this third location, but for the most part, I think there's always this low ground expansion. You really do end up getting quite a bit of control as soon as you control this little area over here, as both Protoss or a Zerg player. Oh, let me make sure I get those game sounds in. Do apologize for that. But first, Zeld's going to be coming on out. Rotterdam with a bit of a curious wall in, maybe a little bit newer to these maps. This was played on the most recent patch, but not all the games were played even during, or I guess most recently in the past couple of days. Some of these games are from just immediately after this latter map season started. So Rotterdam with the pylon, two pylons in the wall in. Yeah, definitely not the most ideal wall in, but he makes it work. He's got two pylons powering his gateway and cybernetics core, so gonna be helpful if he did get Ravager busted or something. But Adept pops out, Zealot is in the wall, Zerglings scout around and see everything looking quite normal, and also sees the Twilight Council sitting over at the front. Overlord, I almost feel like this is a late Overlord coming in this late on. Again, the map is not exactly that huge. I really do feel like an Overlord should have been able to make it over here way earlier than this, and maybe it's just sit over here in the corner and get ready for the opportune moment to move in. But the fact that there is not going to be anything to actually kill that Overlord is in and of itself going to be a bit of a reveal that, yeah, my opponent is just continuing to make non-stop adepts. Adept after adept after adept. Evolution Chamber is coming down. It's not a crazy early Evolution Chamber, but it does allow for the potential of Ling drops later on. This map can actually be pretty nice for it just because of this ledge right over here. Load some Lings up, drop them in your opponent's main base, and watch them flutter around trying to defend their third, their natural, and their main base versus all kinds of potential attacks. But it's going to be Rotterdam putting on the pressure first, as Twilight Council almost done researching Resonating Glaives. There's going to be 3 gateways finished up pretty soon, so it's not going to be crazy all in, but it will be a bit of pressure that Unleashed will have to deal with at some point. Looks like Banelings are going to be the option for Unleashed to handle this kind of adept pressure. Can be effective, but you really are relying on good Baneling hits. If you don't get the good Baneling hits, well, you just invested not only a lot of your gas into the defense that just completely flops, but you also lose your Zerglings. Those Zerglings that you were making, that you were morphing in. You want to make sure that you just clean this up ASAP and don't let these adepts flutter around and shade into your natural, your main, killing off workers left and right. You can also notice that the layer tech is starting up at almost the 5-minute mark, so he's got to get something done with this defense. But Rotterdam should be ready to move out now, as he's warped in a handful of adepts I imagine this is where he's going to move out. He is securing that third expansion. You might be thinking, oh, well, doesn't he want to leave the third or the Adepts around at home to defend the third? And I guess that is a valid way of thinking about it, especially since there is a big Ling counterattack that's about to shut down that third expansion. But Photon Overcharge should be able to buy a good bit of time. Double Photon Overcharge does force the Lings all the way over to the natural expansion. The Zealot is clogging the hole in the wall over there. Sentry and an Adept warped in, perfectly timed, and we got more Adepts moving to that natural expansion. Lair is finished up, but there's no Banelings that actually been made so far. 0 Banelings on the map, more Lings being made, and the Adepts are fully surrounded, so they're taking quite a bit of damage, but they are just not quite getting cleaned up fast enough. So many of them have done some good damage, and those Lings have just been able to not been able to counteract that damage. Now we see that only 4 workers killed on either end, but Rotterdam sitting up 13 workers. That's a huge deal, especially considering Unleashed really doesn't have any form of lair tech. Even though you invested into the lair, he does not have anything. He's only just now getting up that Hydra Den. He's getting up a 4th expansion now. Most of the Adepts did get cleaned up, and that is a bit painful for Rotterdam, but as long as Rotterdam is able to get out another flurry of squad of units to put some pressure on, and hey, double Void Ray production coming out, that's going to be a great way to try and punish a player that's only making Zerglings, then he's just going to prevent his opponent from ever droning up pretty heavily. But Baneling's coming in. This could be a pretty effective strategy. You run them in, the Adepts are either going to take massive splash damage, or the workers could end up just getting focus fire down by the Banelings. Void Ray is scouted out by the Overlords, so Unleashed knows that he is on a bit of a timer. Baneling's trying to move in, trying to find an opportunity, getting some okay hits on the Adepts and killing off a couple of workers as well, but only +1 melee, or sorry, yeah, +1 melee research. +2 melee is not finished up, so he's not one-shotting the workers. A lot of them end up getting very low in health, but they still survive and live to mine another day. Rotterdam coming out relatively unscathed from all of that. It does lose 3 more workers, loses a couple of Adepts, and takes a bit of damage, but now his Voiders are going to be able to move across the map, killing off any Overlords that were providing any form of vision. Should be able to clean up the Solnaga Watchtowers as well, and really just put some pressure on, force out quite a few Hydras as well. Only 1 Hydra on the way, though, 6 more getting started up. But I think this might be 6 too late, as the Adepts and the Void Rays are all moving across the map. And remember, he didn't just have 1 Void Ray, he has 4 Void Rays now out on the map. This is a pretty substantial force, to be entirely frank. It may actually be a game-ending force if he plays his cards correctly. Okay, Queen's going to be the first one. Focus fire down. 1 Voider taking some good damage, but does back it up. Micros it back, taking some more damage on these Voiders, but he should have enough DPS to kill off those Hydras, as they are in fairly low numbers. 4 more Hydras out on the map right now, and the Adepts moving their way over to that 4th, or I guess the bottom left-hand expansion. Not sure if it's the 3rd or the 4th. Voiders continuing to whittle away at the economy, killing off a Queen, preventing additional larva injects. 4 of the Hydras are going to be coming in, but 4 Hydras versus 5 Void Rays. I think I know who wins this fight. It's going to be Rotterdam. He loses a couple of Void Rays, but he has more than enough to continue the damage. Adepts well split up, not going to be taking too much damage from the Banelings, but I guess it's more the Zerglings are going to get a full surround and should be able to clean up these Adepts. The problem really is the fact that the Void Rays are going to be able to kill off this expansion. 2 more Hydras pop out, but no. GG gets called. Rotterdam takes the game, adepting his way to victory.